All right, so when we talk about the structure of how one of these accounts gets set up, it's all about the policy design. And so if you recall back to our other videos, we talked about how money that gets contributed to a policy can go to one of two places. We can have that cash go to the expense, which is a premium, just like you pay with your auto insurance and your homeowner's insurance. Or we could have that money go to what's called PUAs, which stands for paid up additions, just a technical term for basically cash value. Cash value is what we care about. This is the most important piece. When we're using these tools for a financial purpose, what we care about is building the living benefit, which is the cash that's going to roll over and accumulate each time we make a payment into this policy. So if you think back to that example we used before where we said we paid $2,000 in as a premium, what do we want to do? We want to shrink down the expense as low as possible so we can maximize this cash value. So the number that we normally run on, which is usually possible in most scenarios, depending on the company, depending on the length of time you're looking to fund as well. But the factor we go on, the ratio, is what we call a 10-90 split. This is the split between the expense and the cash value. So by shrinking this down, this is usually the lowest we can possibly get it with any kind of company. If you were to pay in $2,000, you would see $200 show up in expense, with the remaining $1,800 showing up in cash value, which is what we want. Cash value gets dividend and interest growth. It gets a guaranteed rate of return. It gets the ability to be leveraged. It's protected. It's tax-free, right? So when we talk about the ultra wealthy and corporations and big banks, they are trying to fund as much as possible into this cash value because that is what supercharges this entire account. So the question to ask yourself when you're trying to set up some design is, what is the maximum I want the ability to be able to fund in? So we're looking for the max annual ability. Now, there are restrictions both from the insurance company and from the IRS. And we actually want those to be in place because what they're doing is they're protecting this design from being a qualified retirement account. They are making sure it stays life insurance, which allows us a lot of flexibility and allows us to do all the great things that we're able to do with it. So the question to ask is, what is the max you want to be able to fund this policy? And keeping in mind for this example, the 10-90 split, this will help you allocate what the cost is going to be or how the policy needs to be structured in terms of premium minimum and death benefits, right? So not to get super in the weeds here, but there's technically no limit to how much you can contribute to a policy in any given year as long as you have this 10-90 split up, set up right. So for example, if you say, I want the ability to put $50K in per year, well, that would mean that I would need the ability to have that as my max on my cash value side, which would mean that my minimum or my premium is going to be what? 5K. So if I wanted the ability to fund in 50, the cost or the piece that's going to go to the insurance company is going to be that 5K. You're going to see in the next video, we're actually going to show you a Inforsys illustration example so you can get an idea of what this looks like and how the cash value begins to accumulate based on the correct design.